It's 2:30 in the morning in Rome, Italy. Everyone's asleep in the hotel room. The city outside is dead silent. And I'm sitting up in bed with an iPad and a pair of headphones, fighting with a VPN, trying to do something that should not be this hard. Watch my team play in the NBA Finals. For 45 minutes, nothing works. Wrong app, wrong login, wrong everything. I'm half convinced I'm going to miss the entire first half. And then I'm finally able to outsmart these streaming services that like to prevent their content overseas. And before I even get a clean picture, I see the score. Spurs 76, Knicks 49. It's halftime. 27 points down. And I just sit there for a second in the dark and thought, go to sleep, Craig. It's over. And I almost did. I don't know what made me stay. Maybe a lifetime of being a Knicks fan. Maybe stubbornness. Maybe the same thing I tell every sales team I've ever coached. You don't quit at halftime. Whatever it was, I stayed. I propped up the iPad, put the headphones on, and I watched. What happened over the next 2 hours while the sun slowly came up over Rome, I'm going to spend the rest of my life talking about. But I need to back up first because a lot happened on this trip. Some of it planned, some of it chaos, and some of it the kind of stuff that sneaks up on you and hits harder than you ever expected. And all of it pointing at the same exact thing. Time. The one thing you cannot manufacture. The one thing you're spending right now, whether you're being intentional about it or not. I'm Craig Palmer. This is Eyes Wide, the podcast. Let's go. All right, we are back. And there has been a bit of a hiatus, so thank you for sticking with me. It's been a little while. I've been wanting to put this episode out for some time. And truthfully, I wanted this to be the first episode that I put out after getting back from vacation. So if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm glad you found us. And if you've been riding with me for a while now, thank you. Genuinely, this show doesn't grow because of some algorithm doing me a favor. It grows because people like you hit share. You send to somebody, you leave a comment, you tell a friend. That's it. That's the whole strategy. So if today's episode does anything for you, even if it does just a little bit for you, please share it. Tag me. Send it to somebody who needs to hear it. That's how this thing keeps moving forward. All right, let's get into it. So my family and I planned a summer trip to Italy this year. We're going to do Rome and the Amalfi Coast. Looking forward to staying in Positano. I've never been there before. Planned to do it in about 11 days. Now, the truth of the matter is it almost didn't happen. We had a bit of a passport situation that occurred right before we were about to leave. We didn't find out until the 23rd hour that you needed to have your passports outside of a certain amount of time that they expire once you have your return flight. And both of my daughter's passports were expiring in September. And unfortunately, the airlines let us know that they couldn't check in for the flight. So talk about finding out last minute that you've got an issue. So we got some appointments down in San Diego, did a whole rush job, an expedited passport thingy, and went down on Friday. Flight was scheduled to leave Saturday night and did everything we were supposed to do. Was told to go back at 3:00 to pick up the passports. Went back to Orange County where I live, and I didn't start traveling back down to San Diego early enough to deal with Friday afternoon traffic. And I got there after the federal office closed. Done. Nothing you can do. Believe me, I tried. And truth of the matter is we're just going to have to wait it out until Monday morning when the offices reopened. And I had to place that very difficult phone call back to the family while I was down in San Diego, letting them know that unfortunately we weren't going to be leaving for Italy Saturday night as planned, and we would need to wait until Monday. So anyway, it was in the time. Now, in the moment, that was an absolute nightmare. I've told people that it is top 5, the most stressful situation that I've ever had in my life. And it should never be that way when you're talking about a vacation with the family. So anyway, it's just one of those situations where you're really doing everything you can just to try and salvage it and keep it together. And that's all you're thinking about is, okay, I have to somehow fix this. So Monday comes. I go back down to San Diego. I pick up the passports. All good. We then head up to LAX to head over to Rome. And Rome is, look, I've traveled to a decent number of places, but Rome hits different. The whole Italian experience hits different. Where they're talking about the history, the food, the pace of life. I mean, you walk down a street and you are just surrounded by things that are thousands of years old. It recalibrates you. It makes your problems feel appropriately small. And from Rome, we had to cut the trip a little bit shorter because of the passport snafu. So we weren't able to head up to Florence the way we were originally planning. So we just headed straight down to Positano. And if you have never been to the Amalfi Coast, as I said, I have never been to the Amalfi Coast before. I've seen it in movies, seen it in pictures. I never imagined I'd have an opportunity to actually go there and walk those steps, and walk those steps I did. But put it on the list, non-negotiable. If you can somehow swing it, go to the Amalfi Coast. It's one of those places that even though you know it exists and you've seen it in pictures, it doesn't look real, even when you're there. And so whether you are just experiencing all the culture and the history there, or you're actually standing on a cliff above the Mediterranean, you're just thinking the entire time, how does a place like this actually exist? And June is also happens to be the month where both of my daughters were born, and my mother. So it is a very busy month, but we were fortunate enough to celebrate my younger daughter's birthday in Positano. And it was something that I know that she is never going to forget. We created an absolute core memory for her, core memory for all of us, but she got to celebrate her 14th birthday on a cliff overlooking the Mediterranean. And, you know, that girl's going to be 40 years old someday, sitting across from her own kids. And she's going to say, well, I turned 14 in Positano. That exists now. Nobody can ever take that from her. That's a deposit into something that compounds forever. And I'll be honest, I almost talked myself out of this trip. It's wildly expensive, and there's always a reason to wait. Next year when things slow down, next year when it makes more financial sense, next year when we have a few less expenses, next year when I get that bonus I've been waiting for. Ultimately, next year when it's just more convenient. But here's what I've learned, not read somewhere, not heard in a podcast, but actually lived. You see, next year is a lie that we tell ourselves. Next year becomes the year after. And then your kids are grown. And Positano is still there, sure. But you know what isn't there? The 14-year-old that you took. She isn't there anymore. He isn't there anymore. You don't get that time back. And so I want to talk about my older daughter, since we are on the topic of time. So she turned 17 a few days after we got back from Italy. And so while, you know, she didn't get to spend her birthday on a cliff in Positano the way the younger daughter did, we still did it really special for her at a steakhouse, balloons, pictures, and all that good stuff. The reason I'm telling this story is because this episode is about time. And one of the things that you're supposed to try and do, the reason why we take family vacations, is because it's our opportunity to kind of like freeze a time capsule, if you will, to take these snapshots, literal and figurative snapshots of everything you're doing, that moment in time of the history of your family, how everyone was at that moment in time in this place. So it's something that as I age and as I watch my family grow, I've tried to be more aware of it and more cognizant of it and to practice it more. But being in the moment is so vital for so many of us. And so many of us don't realize how vital it is to be in the moment until, unfortunately, it's too late for a lot of us. And so a few days later, we're at the steakhouse. It's my daughter's birthday, and I'm taking pictures of her and her friends. And I can't even begin to explain. I mean, for those of you that have kids, grown kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's very crazy to watch your daughter through the lens of a camera, being 17, but seeing with the lens in your head, her at 3. And this especially hit hard. And I am going to do whatever I can not to get emotional about it right now. But I was filming her blowing out her candles, and you know how it looks when you're filming someone in candlelight. The lighting is just perfect. And I've got just this glowing video of her face and the smile and her getting ready to make a wish. And all I see is 3-year-old little girl that I literally wrote a song about when she was 3. And I I wrote the lyrics, and I had a friend record it who was a very talented singer. Name is Matthew Pagano. He is fantastic. And I'm just hearing this song in my head. And I haven't listened to this song. I haven't watched the video of the song in a very long time. And it was so visceral right there. And then in this moment, watching her go through this experience, me having this experience. And so later that night when I got home, I actually took that video and I searched through the archives, and luckily I have a hard drive with all the old video on it, and I was able to take that new video of her at 17 blowing out her candles and making a wish, and then edit it to the front of the music video that I made for the song Little Girl. And so you've got this transition of her going from 17 to a baby and then 3 years old. And it's just very powerful. Anytime that you can see a quick rendition of time and how someone changes, and it's beautiful and sad, and it's on all of my social channels. I put it up there if you want to go check it out at Eyes Wide CP on Instagram. But yeah, so anyway, I digress. So where were we? We're back. Let's get back to these guys right here. Let's get back to the New York Knicks. Now, listen, here I am. I don't even know what today is. It's like I'm recording this a couple weeks after the championship. And, with today's news cycles, how fast everything moves, this is old news. It's old news to so many people. You know who it's not old news to? It's not old news to me, because I've been waiting 53 years for this. And so let's go ahead and talk about the old Knickerbockers. So if you are not a Knicks fan, or you hate the Knicks, just do me a favor, just stay with me anyway, because this really isn't about basketball, but also it's absolutely about basketball. Now, as I said, those of you that follow me know that I am a lifelong Knicks fan. I've suffered through all of it, the good years, the bad years, just even when they had nobody, when they had some people, but not really. I've been waiting for this my entire adult life. Some of my favorite memories were during that 99 run. That 99 run was awesome. I loved it. Still dropping the Larry Johnson L. It was everything. But of course, they pick this year, when literally the only week or the only 2 week span that my family and I could really get away was going to be this week. And so, yeah, of course, they picked the week that I am overseas in Italy. And as I mentioned at the top of the opening of the show, it was an absolute pain in the ass to be able to stream this thing. And for those of you that have ever tried, most of the time you go to open up your favorite streaming service and they're just like, oh, no, sorry, we don't offer it there. And then I always found that rather interesting, because I'm not a European. This is my account, and it's clear that I'm traveling. I can prove that I'm traveling here temporarily. What do you care if I stream a movie, or I stream anything? Or, I have YouTube TV. I want to watch a sporting event on YouTube TV. Why do you care? But anyway, everyone's like, got to get a VPN. I'm like, okay. Even though getting a VPN is super weird. If you're not really a techie, the idea of opening up or downloading a VPN and opening it up, it's a little weird. It's just like, it kind of just takes over your device, whatever you're doing. And so you kind of just one of those things where you're just like, okay, go. Just hope for the best. You don't know if you're giving yourself a virus or you're going to get hacked or anything like that. But anyway, Game 4, June 11th. NBA Finals, Knicks versus the Spurs, Madison Square Garden. Now, I set my alarm for 2:30 in the morning, and it took every minute of that first half for me to get this thing working. And when I finally did, as I mentioned also in the cold opening, is I saw the score. And it was halftime, and I saw the score, and I'm just thinking to myself, what am I doing? Like, are you dumb? You're in Rome. You got an entire day planned tomorrow. Just go to bed. It'll be fine. They're not going to care. You're not going to change the outcome. Just let it go. There's going to be more games. And I think part of it was because it was such a pain in the ass to get the game that once I finally had it, I figured I'd just stay up and watch for a little while maybe, and then just to see how it goes. So I'm in bed with the iPad. I'm just watching this. And then it just starts, right? Everyone on the team just kind of starts finding their rhythm. Brunson starts finding his rhythm. Anunoby gets hot. And MSG, which was completely silent and quiet, they slowly start to wake back up as well. And again, everyone's sleeping. I'm trying to remain quiet, but this is starting to get nuts. And y'all know the story. I'm not going to belabor it. Y'all saw the tip in, the final one, the Brunson shot, the Anunoby getting it off the rim, the magic right hand of OG Anunoby, and they win. 1.2 seconds left. 107-106. Now it's 6 o'clock in the morning in Rome this time, and I was insanely fired up. So I just left the hotel. I walked down the stairs and went out on the streets of Rome, and I was just fired up. The city was empty. There was no one really walking around, but I was just screaming everywhere. People probably thought I was crazy. But for me, if there's any New Yorkers listening to this or anyone that followed New York baseball in the 80s, this was the closest thing. And I'm not going to say that it wasn't even more memorable, because it may be more memorable. I don't know. I'm going back and forth right now. But 1986 Mets World Series against the Red Sox. If you're a fan or you're from New York or the North, if you're from Boston, you remember it too. But the 1986 World Series, Game 6, Mookie Wilson hits a slow roller down the first base line and goes right through Buckner's wickets. You've all seen it a million times. It was insane. The Mets ended up winning that Game 6 and then went on to win Game 7. Very similar to the Knicks winning this Game 4 and then going on to win the entire championship in Game 5. But in real time, this unfolding, I literally remember being a kid watching this game in my parents' bedroom. They had a TV in their bedroom. And I remember that I have a younger brother, and he was asleep at the time. And I watched this happen, and I went berserk. I went freaking crazy. I remember my dad getting pissed at me because I was going to wake up my younger brother at the time. But I didn't care. I was insanely excited. And this feels the exact same. In the moment, this felt the exact same. This felt the exact same. I mean, it was an improbable outcome. The Knicks were done. There was no way they should have won that game. For the Mets, when it happened, I mean, they weren't commanding the series at that point. It was over. The Boston Red Sox were about to win the whole thing. And I think in that Game 6, they were going to wrap it up right there. And so there's a little bit more on the line with how ridiculous it was that it had to happen in that Game 6. But anyway, I'm going on too long. You all know what happened in Game 5. Brunson just did what Brunson does, and he took that one personally, and he just went off. And it was the Spurs against Jalen Brunson, and Jalen Brunson kicked the crap out of him. So 53 years. All right, I got my Knicks piece out. And you just got to understand, most of us, especially those listening to this, I hope most of us listening to this, we were not alive the last time this happened. Now, here's a fun fact, something that I think you'll find interesting, because I mentioned the passport snafu, and I mentioned the fact that we weren't able to leave when we wanted to, and so I extended the trip on the back end. And then when I went to rebook the trip out of Naples to fly back to the U.S., it only gave me the option of stopping at JFK on Thursday. And wouldn't you know, it just ends up turning out that the Knicks parade for the first championship, the first time actually ever having a ticker tape parade, happens on the Thursday, a few hours before we got to the airport. And being at JFK was just electric. Everyone there had their Knicks gear on. Most everyone there flew in for that parade, and that was them leaving to go back to wherever. We had a bunch of people on our flight. from JFK to LAX that went to the parade. So just I got to talk to them and listen to them and just get a feel for what it was like. So even though I couldn't be there, I can't believe how close I actually was to being at the parade, being in the same city on the same day was pretty cool. It was a nice consolation prize to be able to share it with so many people that did get to attend the event. All right. So how are we doing? Probably going a little bit longer than I wanted to. That's okay. There's probably no one left anyway still listening to this. If you are, thank you. So what's the through line? What connects a passport nightmare, a birthday on a cliff in Positano, a song that I wrote for my daughter when she was 3 years old, OG Anunoby's magic right hand, and a layover in JFK on parade day? The answer is time. Time. That's it. That's the whole thing. Time is the only asset that doesn't come back. And most people spend it like it's unlimited. They put off the trip. They put off the conversation. They put off the moment. They tell themselves they'll get to it. When things slow down, when the kids are a little older, when the timing is a little better, when it makes more financial sense, when work eases up. It doesn't ease up. The window just closes. I almost didn't book Italy. Too expensive, too complicated, too much happening. And now I have a 14-year-old whose birthday happened on a cliff above the Mediterranean. A story about walking the streets of Rome alone at sunset after the greatest comeback in NBA Finals history. And a layover in JFK on the one day New York finally exhaled after 53 years. Those things exist because I made a choice. And here's the part that gets me. The passport nightmare that hit us on Friday, June 5th, the thing that ruined our entire Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and had us waiting on the passport offices to open up Monday morning and cost us 2 days on the front end of our trip. The one thing that came out of it was we were flying home on June 18th instead of the 17th. 1 day difference. And that 1 day put us in JFK on parade day. The thing that felt like a disaster on Friday was still a disaster, but it created a crazy punchline to one of the greatest sporting moments of my life. The obstacle became the story. I love when things like that happen. So let me ask you something. What are you not choosing right now? Maybe it's the trip. Maybe it's the conversation you keep putting off with someone you love. Maybe it's showing up differently for your family. Maybe it's just being present. Actually present instead of half there with your phone in your hand. Whatever it is, you already know what it is. It's living in the back of your head right now. That thing that you keep saying that you'll get to it. The Knicks waited 53 years. My daughter has been alive for 17. I've been doing this career and this life for a very long time. And I can tell you with everything I have, the moments I regret are never the ones where I showed up. They are always, and I mean always, the ones where I didn't. Show up, book the trip, write the song, set the alarm for 2:30 in the morning, and watch your team. Because someday isn't a day of the week, and the future you is being built right now in the choices you are making today. In the moments you are deciding to create, in the time you are choosing to spend intentionally on the people and the things that actually matter. Do it now. Do it here and do it today. Oh, that felt good. That felt good. I hope that resonated. Before I let you go, if this episode hit you the way that I hope it did, do me a favor. Hit follow if you haven't hit it already. Leave a rating, leave a review. It matters more than you know, and it's how this show finds the next person who needs it. And if there's somebody in your life who needs to hear this, a parent putting off the trip, somebody who's been saying someday for way too long, please send them this episode. Don't just like it, send it. That's the whole ask. This show exists because people keep showing up for it. So thank you for being a part of this, for listening, for sharing, for building this thing with me one episode at a time. Now go create the moment you keep putting off. I'm going to go ahead and close this one the way I close every single one, reminding each and every one of you that this life is what you make of it. The future you is waiting patiently to meet the current you. Continue to work to find your tomorrow in today and keep the promises you make to yourself. Until we meet again, eyes wide, see everything. Goodbye.